we've been looking at the fruits of the Spirit. And our focal verse for this entire series of scripture, or our sermons, has been in Galatians 5. And it reads, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law." And we've looked at love and joy and peace and patience so far. And those are all important things. And today we're going to look at kindness and goodness. Now, love and joy and peace and patience are things that we can associate as being strong things that we should have and strong character traits. Sometimes, though, the idea of kindness or goodness toward other people just seems like, I don't know, sometimes people look at that as weakness instead. The thing is, it takes so much strength to be kind to somebody. You've got to be so secure in who you are to be able to reach out to somebody else and who you are in Christ. But what's the problem? Why is it hard for us to be kind and good? Well, we're going to look at some verses today about that. And so here's where we've been so far. All this stuff we're learning. I'm going to tell you a little secret. I wasn't going to let this cat out the bag yet, but I'm going to let you know right in the middle of this study, all these things, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control, all those are character traits of our God. Our Father expresses himself to us in all these ways. So what he's trying to grow in us is his image. As you look through the Bible, you'll realize that we are image bearers of God. We are created in his likeness, just as human beings. That's what we're supposed to be. As Christians, how much the more. And what he wants to grow in us are the very things that he himself reaches out to us with. And really, I think kindness and goodness are some of those huge things like that. So you could go through the Bible, and you can find, from front to back, all these examples of kindness and goodness that God shows toward man. And I could go through all of those today, but I chose to ease up on y'all a little bit. So I have a couple of them, and I really want to focus just on us being people, okay? Us being children of God. Because I think that's where the disconnect is with kindness and goodness. Any of you guys and the rest of the folks that aren't here, most of our Christian brothers and sisters, if people asked about them, they probably think they're nice people, hopefully, kind, good people. But where is it that we're not? That's what I want to look at. When's the time that we're not kind and we're not good? If they're out there, where are those times? I believe those times come down to us being. So what we need to be doing is we need to be these things. And we need to be kind, we need to be good. And that's what we're going to look at today. But I want you to get an idea of this concept I'm thinking about here. When was the last time you were short with somebody or unkind to somebody, and why was that? I have not a lot of things to draw back except some studies that I look at and the life that I live. And the most of the time that I am tempted to be less kind or less good towards somebody else is because I have something else I got to be. My mind is not there in that moment. My mind's on the next 5 or 10 things I got to go do in that day. Why is it when you want to blow past people at Walmart that might want to stop and talk to you? Because you got to get out of that place. I don't know what the deal is, but it seems like those walls are built for people to want to escape from. I want to get in that place, get my stuff, get out of that place. That's how a lot of people feel. I go in there, I'm thinking about who I can visit. Who am I going to run into today? I very rarely have this idea that I want to get out as soon as I can. But I'm built different than a lot of people. I understand. I'm weird. I get it. But in that moment, if somebody catches you and they're talking with you, there's that kind of listening that we do when we're staring past, you know? You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, we act like we're listening, but we're really not there. It's hard to be kind then. It's hard to be good then, because we're missing the interaction part. Sometimes we get so hung up in our destination, we don't enjoy the trip. And what we have to actually be kind like God. Have you thought about this? God spends time with you, and He's totally there in that moment. When you're praying and you're connected to God, He is all there with you. He's not thinking about what He has to go do somewhere else. He's God. He can be absolutely, completely right there with you. And I think that's what He wants us to be with other people. That kind of connection, if you will just live in that moment with that person you're with, whoever God happens to drop by you that day, and man, it can get weird if you start paying attention. But you start thinking everybody that randomly comes across your path is a divine appointment. And some of them are there to teach you things, I get it. But what if you were there in that moment with them, seeking how you can help them the best, even praying for them in that moment while they're talking to you, maybe even praying with them and letting them in on it after they're done. But that kind of kindness and that kind of goodness is going to change some lives. Those are the kind of people that might want to know what it is you know, who it is you know, that you can be this kind of person in the middle of this crazy world we have. So be kind. Ephesians 4:32 says, be kind to one another. Now, if you don't know what that means, Paul even goes on and says, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, as God in Christ forgave you. So one of these ideas of kindness, how can I be kind? I can be tender-hearted and I can be forgiving. Those are two ways I can be kind to other people. Forgiving, I got to tell you, I can mess a lot of things up. I can. And I'm as flawed as anybody else. But I really believe that the one area that I don't mess up is forgiving other people. I can forgive really easily. And that's because I know how much I've been forgiven for. I really think people that have trouble forgiving need to get more in touch with what God really forgave them for. When you start thinking about what it is that He has erased in your life in order to let you be His child, I don't know, forgiving gets kind of easy to me at that point. Trusting isn't. I'm going to tell you that. The Bible doesn't tell me to trust anybody but God. All right? So we don't need to trust people that might harm us. We need to forgive people. Because that's really on us. But tender-hearted. Man, I don't know, for ladies it might be different because I've never been one, I don't know. But for guys, it's hard to be tender-hearted sometimes. Because we're supposed to be the strong ones and you know, and all this. But in the midst of being strong, we need to also care. And I think that's really what tender-hearted is most about. We need to care about other people a little bit and let them in a little bit so that it matters what's going on with them. We care. And so that's one way that we are kind, by being tender-hearted, by forgiving one another. And just in case you didn't understand the extent with which you're supposed to do this, Paul throws up Jesus. He forgave you. This is, if you need to compare things, compare your forgiveness, not to the guy next to you. Oh, I forgive more than they do. I'm more tender-hearted than they are. Jesus is the stick here. That's the rule. Jesus. How much does He forgive? We should forgive. How tender-hearted was He toward us? We should be. So there's the first thing. Proverbs 11:17 says, a man who is kind benefits himself, but a cruel man hurts himself. Well, we see a lot of examples in the world, or sometimes maybe some cruelty or some lack of kindness, let's just put it that way, might lead to success out in the world. Remember what I mentioned about us being image bearers? Matter of fact, all of humans are. And if we aren't kind to others who bear the image of God, what are we going to say when we meet God? Yeah, I think we have a responsibility here. And I think that's what the writer of Proverbs is saying. There is a different scale, a different measurement for success out there in God's economy than there is around us in the world. And those who look like they're going to be succeeding right now are the same people who will, along with us, stand before God one day. And they'll give an account for what they did, and you and I will give an account for what we did. And does that account include kindness? Or a lack of kindness? The writer of Proverbs says if that account includes kindness, so much the benefit for us. Luke 6:35 says, "But love your enemies, and do good, and lend, expecting nothing in return, and your reward will be great. You will be sons of the Most High, for He is kind to the ungrateful and the evil." You're thinking, God is kind to the ungrateful and the evil? Yeah, He's kind to us. That's kind of who we are without Jesus. You know, sometimes we need to remember that at our best, we're just forgiven. It's not like we have been raised up to be above others. We've been raised up to lead others to how we got raised up. And Jesus is our only righteousness. And the more we get a handle on that, the easier it is to be kind to other people. We're just being like our God. 1 John 3:18 says, "Little children, let us not love in word or talk, but in deed and in truth." Now, yes, the word love is there and not kindness. I get that. I saw that. But if we're loving in deed and in truth, isn't that kindness? If we're actually loving like we're supposed to love, then that actually means we're being kind. That's what the deed is. And I want to come back just a second to this idea of to be kind to somebody, you actually have to recognize they're there. You have to be with them in that moment. Try to feel what they're feeling. Try to see things how they're seeing things. So you can really let God connect in you how to meet a need in their life. I mean, it might not even be the need they think they have in their life. But if you let Him know that you're willing, God will let you know what you need to do. So we need to be people who do things in deed and in truth, and we are. We just spent yesterday feeding people all over the neighborhood. That's a lot of deed and truth right there. And reaching out and connecting. And we do those kind of things, but you know, that's not what everybody does. And I think that all Christians need to remember that that's who we need to be about. We live in times of these polarized discussions where different people of different opinions yell at each other. We need times when we're kind to each other, and we're with each other, and we're hearing each other. And even if we disagree, then we disagree. But we can do it respectfully and lovingly with each other. So, now I want to talk about being good. Yeah, there's a subtle difference between goodness and kindness. But I really want to, again, focus on what we're doing with other people. So, Psalms 34:14 says, "Turn away from evil and do good." Now, it's not hard for us to figure out what evil is. If you have trouble with that, come see me. That's a whole other discussion. But once you figure out what evil is, here's the job. Turn away from it. And then don't leave just a vacuum in your life where there's, well, I am not doing evil. Yeah, but what are you doing? Do good. See, for so long, I think that some of the Christian church has been labeled by what we don't do. Or I'm a Christian, so I don't drink. Or I'm a Baptist, so I don't dance. Whatever. But all of those things that we don't do, I would love to see us labeled for the things we do. I want to see people labeling the church as people who are loving each other, as people who are doing good things for the neighbor and doing good things for each other and doing good things before God. People, like it says here, who seek peace and pursue it. Label us like that. But we need to be people like that. We need to be people who aren't holding on to what I don't do, but are holding on to what we do. And so how do we do good? Well, the writer of Psalms says to seek peace. Pursue that. Pursue it. Chase it. Get after it. You know, peace doesn't just like fall in its day. You've got to work for peace sometimes. And when we talk about other people, sometimes peace with others is not an easy concept, right? But we need to work for it. If there's times when we don't have peace, well, we need to talk it out with somebody. That way we're not carrying that anxiety over it. Galatians 6:10 says, "So then, as we have opportunity, let us do good to everyone." As you have the opportunity, do good to everyone. Especially to those who are the household of faith. Love one another. That's how people are going to know you belong to Jesus. You love each other. But we have to continue to work at it. I think we are in a place on this hill, in this church that gathers here. I think we're in a place where we do love each other. We're in a group of people that understand what it's like to pitch in and everybody get the job done. But when we stop thinking about it and stop trying, we're not going to be getting the job done. The kind of love that we share here isn't by accident, and it's not by our doing, but it's how we let God move through us. But when we decide to stop and we're not paying attention to it anymore, we won't have it anymore. So we need to be on top of that all the time. Micah 6:8. I love this verse. What has he told you, O man? What is good? He has told you, O man, what is good? Here it is. What's good? What does the Lord require of you? But to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God. How do I do good? Well, here we go. Love justice. Love those things that are right and pure. Love kindness. Walk humbly with your God. You know, there's like 100 different ways that the Jews had to not break the Sabbath. Very simple instructions that God gave to remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. And then they created like 100 different rules so that you don't break them. I'm going to lay this out to you really simple for all of us. How do we do good before God? We do justice, we love kindness, and we walk humbly with Him. I'm not going to give you 100 rules to go with that. It's just that. Seek out the things that are right. Really, really enjoy being kind to other people. And don't carry pride in your relationship with God. It's pretty simple. Romans 12:2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Why? That by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. You want to know what is good? It comes back to your relationship with God. And how are you going to make this relationship with God better? By paying attention to the world? Not necessarily. By being in His Word and letting that Word transform you. Make you across into something brand new. Let it work on you so that then you're going to be able to look around and figure out what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong, and where our actions ought to be in the middle of it. But it all comes down to letting God renew our minds. Romans 12:21 says, don't be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. You might need to meditate on that one a little bit, or send that to somebody that you love. We're not going to overcome evil with evil in return. We're going to overcome evil with good. Jesus has already overcome the world. We just hold on to him and we go do what's right. Ephesians 4:29 says, let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths. If you really want to look different as a church today, let's be people who do this. But only such as is good for building up, as fits the occasion, that may give grace to those who hear. That's what our speech ought to be. The kind of speech that builds people up, that encourages people, that moves people to a better place. We live in some times that it's tough to talk like that. There's so much negative stuff going on. There's so many things that we could be negative about things. And we need to be truthful about what's going on. We need to say what is right. We need to say it with love. All right. So here's what I want you to focus on. Being kind and being good. I want to emphasize the being part. If God gives you the opportunity to be in this moment with somebody randomly through your day, and you have this opportunity to bring some kind of kindness or some kind of good to this, savor that moment with that person. Let yourself be right there, completely involved in that moment. You might have 10 things to do in the day after that. There might be that next thing and the next thing and whatever. Fine, let it be there. But be with that person right now. 30 seconds for a minute. I mean, really, how long do those conversations really take? 5 minutes of your life could change their entire day. Could change your entire life. So be good and be kind. Be like Christ. This is what we're called to do, and this is what I want us to maybe focus on in these times that are kind of tough for everybody. I want to finish with this. I'm just going to invite you to pray where you are. James 3:13 says, who is wise and understanding among you? By his good conduct, let him show his works in the meekness of wisdom. So let's just pray about that.